what she wanted. So, once we had, November 18th is the end of world, is when Germany surrenders, and September 1939 is when Hitler invades Poland. So I really went from end of the war to the beginning of the war as my parameters that I used. So let's see. Now I know I have to remember what's on my slides here. So the subtopics, of course: movies, designers, economics, and the modern American woman. All three are huge influences on what we were putting on our bodies. And as somebody who's like, when we get to the designer part, it's like, yeah, for those of us who get all the clothes from the thrift store, what's a design? What do I care about what a designer does? I don't know, we'll figure out, let's see what we find out. Simplicity revolution. Every so often we have these resets when everybody is like, okay, that's it, we're starting over. It's that thing about, the history of dance is the history of annoying your parents. So what you wear out the door, when your mother's going, you are not going out the door looking like that, are you? Remember the ripped jeans? The ripped jeans thing. I only saw one or two of those all day at the book festival. So it was like, okay, I guess we finally stopped that one. But in the 60s, the women were burning their bras as a symbol for, like, we are not happy with what's gone before. We're starting over. So that was not the first time, or it's only it's probably not even the most recent time that we said we want simpler. On the left-hand side is the 1700s, with Marie Antoinette, with everybody, and of course Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, all the colonists in Philadelphia, who are, by the way, are the richest people in the world during the American Revolution. That's what you're wearing on the left. So on the right, that's the revolution. That was we're not wearing all the heavy brocades, we're wearing a white cotton nightgown. Oh, and by the way, muslin was a new fabric. This is the sexy new thing that just is coming, that nobody ever seen before, and it's light and airy and you could read through it. And it was like, kind of like the pajama pants. We were just talking with the kids, the pajama pants. It's like, why am I wearing these uncomfortable jeans? I'm just wearing my pajamas to class. On the one hand, you're going, you are not going out the door looking like that, are you? On the other hand, are the kids wrong to say, why am I wearing these uncomfortable jeans when I just want to be comfortable? I don't want to be thinking about my butt itching while I'm sitting in this class. So, there you have it. So, during the wars is another one of those times when we're questioning all kinds of things. And there's a lot of necessity for women. This is a munitions factory. These women are all getting up in the morning, getting onto a streetcar, getting onto a bicycle, somehow they had to get to work at the munitions factory. Not exactly if anybody's ever handled bullets and so forth, you're covered in lead and it's not clean. So you're not going to really want to be wearing, what was that previous slide? Yeah. You want to wear the white dress into the munitions factory? Do you want to wear the heavy brocade and the embroidery and everything in the munitions factory? Not so much. So there is a huge amount of just, it was pragmatic. You needed to be able to not have a servant to get dressed to get to the munitions factory to get to work. So those are some of the factors that, which we'll come back to all those later. Whoop, can I give you the next one? Next slide, please. Please listen to me. There we go. Hollywood. We talk about the influencers nowadays. It's all, TikTok, how you're supposed to, do we even care about how people dress on TikTok? What's the thing? It's like, it's got to be more about the dance moves, which, have you seen some of the dance moves? It's like, they're just kind of like little thingies, but it can't be more than 20 seconds long before it repeats. So, movies. Hollywood. Now, I have a master's degree in cinema television. So when I was asked to, let's talk about movies, it's like, okay, let's try to talk about anything else, but as you see, it was Hollywood land, and notice how that's all empty. The whole movie industry is like, oh, the weather's it's very sunny, the weather stays the same. We don't have to like stop shooting because I mean, they were based in New York before that. You've been in New York most of the year. Not a good place for when you need good weather. So everybody's going, entertainment is a force. Whatever's entertaining, and how many, I will play music for dancing that is from a video game and have all of the teenagers in early 20s start giggling and giggling and giggling because they can tell you which video game it's from. I don't even know what it is. One of those kids gave it to me to put in a music collection, so I don't even know what it is. But you know, now they're getting their influences from a video game. Well, what were we doing at the time? It was movies. Come on. One of our first big influencers, Mary Pickford, was America's sweetheart in the silent movies. Now she was mostly the 19-teens, but look at the sweet long curls. This is femininity. She defines femininity for us. And it's kind of an interesting definition because she's the sweet, helpless heroine who's also the plucky girl from next door all at the same time. How can you be plucky and helpless all at the same time? I don't know, but they managed to sell that for a lot of times. But it's the 20s. Mary Pickford's getting a little old for these ingenue roles. Meanwhile, the modern girls, can I just do that? Thank you. Want to be flappers. So we are bobbing our hair, we're wearing short skirts, and which comes first, the styles or what you saw in the movies? I mean, there's a little bit of synergy. They're marketing to the young folks. What are the young folks interested in? Now, Colleen Moore, let's see, her movies, she was in a movie called Painted People. Think about Max Factor and the birth of a nice girl can now paint her face and still be a nice girl. That wasn't a thing until the movies came along. The Perfect Flapper was another one of her movies. But she gets eclipsed by one of my favorites, Clara Bow, the It Girl. That was the movie It. And it is referring to sex appeal, which is never actually said in the movie, but that's how we would summarize it today. But I mean, my God, she was just absolutely, by the way, she was a redhead. Was the redhead? So, where am I on my notes there? It's like, okay, I don't have how much she was making. Mary Pickford was making $10,000 a week at the height of her height there.
Wow. That was a lot.
First $1 million contract in Hollywood is Mary Pickford. Colleen Moore never made it to that. Clara Bow, she held her own. But let's see, I've got a bunch of, so we are like, come on, let's just go with this one there. You know, nobody is thinking of Mary Pickford as an object of desire. But the It Girl, I mean, first of all, she's gorgeous, but check out that sailor suit underwear thing in the middle, and I don't like it when she's not smiling. All the pout, the sultry pouty thing. You can see what we're going for here, but nonetheless, no frilly little girl dresses, and Clara Bow is allowed to play a woman, not a girl. So this is. You don't dress like a girl, you want to dress like a woman. So what are the fashions like in the 20s? They're sexy, they're boyish, and they're simple. Just look at the frock on the right hand side. Compared to those other things we were looking at earlier, there's no embroidery, there's hardly any seams on it. It's two rectangles sewn together with pockets on the front and some sleeves. This is very, very simple. Let's look at a few slides of dresses. So I have every 2 years, I've given us a little selection from every 2 years. So as you see, there's there's straight lines. It's all, so look what happens to our waist. We are now sitting here.
Yeah.
Everything is sitting down, is sitting low. And So what I've got, okay, these are our Paris fashions we're getting. This is a, might be simplicity pattern, but yeah, notice how, I mean, this almost doesn't even have a drop waist. We've just sewn some ruffles onto a straight sheath. I have found in a magazine or newspaper that was printed in Southern Illinois called Farmer's Wife. So if anybody wants to say that if you weren't in the city, you didn't care what the fashions were, I got a newspaper you need to read. So it's like the pattern's the thing. So it's constantly, oh, and the thing for sailor motifs, this is a little subtle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many things about your sweetheart in the Navy? We weren't in the war that long, but it had a huge impact on what we're wearing in the 20s, even though the war's over. And I mean, does any kid not look cute in a sailor suit? I still have a thing for sailor suits. So, okay, so we're going for 2 years. We haven't. Looks like the waistbands we've crept up a little already, at least on that one. But we are still. There's still straight lines. It's still bags. It's still you're still not supposed to have any curves. Oh, darn it! I didn't put in the things on the underwear. So people talk about, oh, corsets. They got rid of corsets. No, they didn't. They're still calling them corsets. Instead of being up here, they just slid you down your body, and now they're still calling them corsets. They're girdles. They just didn't call them girdles. There are all the ads for corsets all the way through the 30s. Okay, let's go forward 2 more years. La Mode 1924. Okay, now we've just gotten rid of the waist altogether on the left, and we're just going to wear muumuus. The 60s did not invent much. They just repeated. The thing in the center is from, I get to a lot of costume museums, so that's one of my pictures from the Bath Costume Museum. New fabrics called, okay, one is jersey, was not completely new. It was really used for men's underwear. We'll talk about this more in just a little bit, but we're using these lighter, thinner fabrics for outerwear. So that middle one is chiffon. The things on the right, this little ruffle, you're not gonna do out of canvas. You know, it's very light fabrics. Here's another one. We've just gotten rid of the waist altogether. This one we have this little thing sitting on your hips so that if you have any hips, it just looks like you're wearing bongo drums, so she clearly has no hips. For those of us with a figure with curves, I resent the 20s a great deal. Okay, 2 more years forwards, now in 26. Look at that thing on the left, still no waist. The things on the right, yes, those are maternity clothes. She doesn't look very pregnant to me. But yes, everything is supposed to be long, baggy, straight. So think about how simple this is compared to what was going on before. Simplicity is a huge part of all this. And by the way, guys ever hear that pattern company? When do you suppose Simplicity Pattern started? Middle of the 20s. All right, so we are now up to 28. Still long, still straight, still baggy, still sailor suit influences. You know, this whole thing is, okay, we changed the color. You can't tell it was a sailor motif anymore, right? But we just have this straight line bit. The thing that kind of gets to change that, and this was a huge, huge thing. This movie comes out in 1932 called Letty Linton. And the designer at MGM, Gilbert Adrian, was told he needed to come up with a dress that would hide Joan Crawford's shoulders. She had very broad shoulders, so he covers her in ruffles to disguise the fact that, I mean, just how skinny she is. The rest of her, she doesn't have an ounce of fat on her body, but because she had the broad shoulders, they're like, that is just not feminine enough. Do something, please, with this woman. Women went nuts over this dress. Macy's sold 500,000 copies of that dress in 1932.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm apparently not the only woman who doesn't look good in the 20s fashions. So all the other women are like, hallelujah, something I'd actually look good in. As you can imagine, it just changed everything. You know, it's like when somebody's gonna sell 500,000 of a dress, Think of how many fewer people there were on this continent in 1932. You're gonna take notice. It's like, clearly we've got the demand, we're gonna do something. And meanwhile, also in 1932, and also, oh my God, Hollywood Patterns starts up. It's like, oh, people want to wear dresses that look like the people in the movies? Oh, well, we can do that. And Hollywood Patterns. So we get, as you'll notice, they even show you what actress was wearing.
Yeah.
And actually,
Wow,
okay,
that's
these tell
neat.
you, they're telling us that it's RKO Pictures, Columbia, RKO. Some of them, clearly not these. I just picked 3 out of my collection. It was kind of like, I can only put 3. They often will tell you what movie it was from. Like the movie Suarez Canal has, here's the actress, here's the movie. So, but yeah, oh, they want to dress like the movies? We can do that. All right, so we mentioned Gilbert Adrian. He's the one that designed the ruffled sleeves. Edith Head. She was at Paramount for 40 years before she got sucked up by one of the other studios in about 1967. But for the longest time, she was to Paramount what Gowns by Adrian was to MGM. And Edith, who I'll say she's a little more understated, but she's the one that put Dorothy Lamour in a sarong in 1937, and that also became, before there was South Pacific, and everybody, that was not the first time that everybody went crazy over sarongs and things that were sort of Polynesia, etc. It had more of an impact on swimwear and like bathing suit cover-ups and beach cover-ups. But this is also a time when after Coco Chanel we'll talk about her in a sec, it's like made the tan fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was going out and getting a suntan, so everybody's going outdoors and everybody's laying at the beach, and you needed something to wear while you're laying at the beach. So the sarong. All right. Last thing about the last movie phenomenon, the women. The year is 1939. This is where Gilbert Adrian is the director. There are no men in the entire movie. They went carefully through, and every time there's a picture on the wall, there's a whatever. There is one male in the entire thing. It's like somebody's son, whatever. That's like in a picture on the desk, in one shot, and it was like the director's son or something like that. So you have to make those allowances. But as you see, we've got fancy women in evening gowns. That's Joan Crawford on the left, with the fur coat hiding or exaggerating her big shoulders. Notice none of the other women. It's like, yeah, it's a Joan Crawford thing.
So, were
Yeah.
shoulder pads kind of a reaction to Joan Crawford's shoulders?
This, I've got to, yes, I do. I know I have a shot for you guys of where we go in the 40s. But yes, Joan Crawford influencing a decade of fashion just by her figure type. So, but yeah, look at all the sparkles and all that on these guys. In fact, this is also a thing that will go through the 40s. This is actually a 2-piece. If she turns around, there's this strip of skin across the back, which I did not put a picture. There's this notorious Ingrid Berg from 1942, obviously after our time, and she's in this crop top. And she and Cary Grant get drunk and then they go off drunk driving because that was romantic. But he takes off he takes out his handkerchief to wrap around her waist so she doesn't get cold. And it was it's kind of cute. I was mostly just horrified and disturbed by the drunk driving, but it's just yeah, different times, right?
Different times.
But this is one of the first things I've seen that has the bare midriff. So, and more, obviously it's a whole bunch of bitchy women talking to each other. I have to watch this movie now. I never have actually seen it all. But, you'll notice that every shot, it's full of women in fancy evening gowns, having conversations and getting catty. And here's where we find out if we're gonna get this to play. Because this is in the middle, and has everybody seen movies in the, like usually in the 50s where there's always a fashion show interrupting the plot for a while?
Yeah.
Actually, some of the musicals a little earlier than that too. A pretty girl is like, I found my love on the cover of a magazine, and it's just a fashion show. 1939, this might be the first time that Hollywood does the fashion show thing. Let's see if we get to the Technicolor. They invested in Technicolor just for the fashion show. And it's like, and it goes on and on. I think I left just like 3 minutes of this, so I will shut up and just we can watch because this is really amusing. Except the hand is scary. It's kind of creepy. The visor's a little weird. We're in the middle of the Great Depression at this point. Still.
Mm-hmm.
Are we living vicariously through these rich women, I guess?
Their hats are weird.
Has anybody ever been to fashion show? Are they really as weird as that? But yeah, whoops. Obviously we don't need twice in that. So this was the guy at MGM who was just handled all the evening gowns by Adrian. He ended up going off in the 40s. He did his own thing. And Joan Crawford, shoulder pads, yes, she remained his client for another 10 years at least. I'm not sure when. Once it was past once the war started, I stopped looking up anything, so I forget when he stops designing. But yeah, Joan Crawford and Adrian, between the two of them, are the reason that women had football shoulders in the 40s. So, all right, so designers, fashion designers. It's not a new concept. I have these actually in reverse chronological order. On the left is Paul Poiret, who is a designer from during the ragtime, so the 1919 teens. He was a big deal and had all these, he really loved that sort of oriental influenced cartoons for his fashion designs. The middle one is a dress from the House of Worth. So every one of those tiny, they're like itty bitty flat sequins making up this entire skirt. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm ever gonna recreate that one. I do have a lot of beads on some of the things I've made, but that, yeah. And on the right, Godey's Ladies Book. This one is 1867. So we have been, females have been looking in catalogs to find out what the other cool kids are wearing for a really long time. And I mean, fashion dolls go back to France in the 1700s, and they ship them across the United States, and so you're going to see how it was made. You take your doll, you undress your doll and pick it apart, and you can see how they were made. So big industry before that. But okay, now we're just a new decade. We have new brains and designs. Coco Chanel, great picture of her. She is responsible for the little black dress. How many of the ladies in this room have a little black dress in your closet? Yeah. So I always have to be the maverick, I guess. So I was scarred by going to this Christmas party for my husband's job, and it was like the entire hospital. So there's 500 people here in an auditorium. I was one of 3 women not in black. It was a Christmas party.
Right.
red and green. So I had this red dress on. It was kind of formal, so I had this red formal that I had little appliques with like sequin Christmas wreaths and so forth. So I have the thing for the Christmas dress. I had a Christmas dress for the Christmas party. I meet this other lady in a green dress because it's Christmas. And then there was this one lady who was in like navy blue. She could almost blend in. And it was like, nobody told me that I had to blend in to come to this party. And why would I want to? So yeah, so the little black dress thing, I don't approve. However, Coco Chanel changed the world with the little black dress. One on the left-hand side, that's the first one ever she designed, and that's 1912. It took a long time for the idea to catch on. But as you see, as she kept designing little black dresses, and it became, she changed the world for, are we done with the little black dress now?
No.
No?
It's still a thing?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so still, if you're going out to something nice, you should have the little black dress.
It's considered like a fashion staple. Like you have to have one. in
A
your
fashion
house.
staple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put it, you just accessorize it to wherever
Okay.
you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I do have, actually my little black dress, it's just like knit, it's long sleeve, it's what I wear to funerals. Because it's tasteful and understated, but yeah, obviously I'm never gonna fit in. The suit, the idea of a woman in a suit. 1923, that's the suit. Her design elements were, number one, it was supposed to be simple. We're still child of the 20s, that whole thing with the straight lines and all that. But comfortable. So she actually, I'm sure all the other sack dresses were comfortable too, but a suit isn't going to be as comfortable as the house dresses or the things. On the other hand, all those thin chiffon-y light fabrics, which, when it's like this outside, you'd rather be in the light fabrics. But sit down, get out of the car, your butt's wrinkled. So these things are more, you're going to be active. You're not going to be crumpled when you get out of the car. It was also about movement. She put a lot of thought into designing this. You need to be able to walk upstairs while wearing this dress. Think about all the long dresses from the past decade or two, or century or two. You could walk upstairs in that. The other hot thought she had was getting in and out of an automobile, a low-slung sports car. She hung out with a lot of rich people. You get a sports car; those are really close to the ground. You need to be able to get out of the car without showing off what your underwear looks like. That was all design elements. And this is the first time we've had a designer who thinks about activity as part of your design elements. So, changes the world, or at least changes what we put on. Next one that is Chanel. The idea of a purse is not old, but to have a purse with a strap that you sling over your shoulder so both your hands are free, that, as you can imagine, that also was, women are like, finally, something. And the actual idea was, well, I kept losing my purse. You have a clutch, you put it down, and then you can't find it. And you forget where you put it down. You rip up the house after the party just to find your purse, so you can get your car keys so you can go home. So she said, well, if I have it slung over my arm, now I'm not going to lose it. Now, why didn't she just design dresses with pockets so we could put things in our pockets? Somehow we couldn't go there, but So that is our dear Chanel. Oh, and as I mentioned earlier, she's also the one that made the suntan fashionable. She was an outdoor girl. She liked being outside at the beach and so on and so forth. Why didn't she design swimsuits when she liked being at the beach? Don't know. But the idea of women laying around at the pool in your sarong, getting a tan, she's the one that everybody's doing what she does because that's how it goes. However, it was my next designer, Elsa Schiaparelli, is the one that ended up on the cover of Time. So, Elsa Schiaparelli, am I saying it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I don't know, I am not, fashion designers, they make clothes I don't buy. I get everything from the thrift store unless I make it. It's 1927 before, she's a latecomer. It's 1927 before any of her work shows up in Vogue magazine. And it's 1934 when she makes it to the cover of Time magazine. Now, one of her big contributions that didn't happen before is the wrap dress. The idea is everybody, were the wrapper dresses, that was the 70s?
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, we all had them, you tied at the waist. This is the first wrap dress, and this is 1927? No, 28. And it was just off of her idea was it should be as easy to put on as an apron. And, you know, it's like, what do you do with an apron? You know, and we're thinking, you know, dive in because you had the thing, dive in, tie it behind your back. It's like, dive the sleeves in, tie it at your waist. That's what we were going with. Oh, I don't have a picture of it. She also created the speakeasy dress in the 20s.
Ooh.
It had a pocket for your flats.
Wow.
So Jean Patou was, he had a boutique in Paris just before the war, but war breaks out, so he closed the shop, go to war, blah, blah, blah. Reopened it after the war in 1919. He ignored the flappers thing. That whole, the flapper woman was not his like, he was interested in the new woman, which was, as we were talking about, the active woman. So if Coco Chanel in her suit was a little bit in active wear, he did one better. This is the tennis star Suzanne Lenglen, and the bandeau around the head, the short sleeve sleeveless dress, and the pleated skirt. To this day, women still wear pleated tennis skirts. I mean, a tennis skirt, now of course they've gotten shorter. I mean, everybody says, oh, the 20s, they had short skirts. Yeah, it meant you saw ankle, not,
Right.
you know how the things you'll see that people have, and it's like, little short. Good thing you got nice legs, because, that's not the 20s. That's our modern rendition of what we think they were wearing in the 20s. In the 20s, it's incredibly short because it only comes to her knees. So yes, shocking, but active wear. I mean, how far is she off the ground in that shot? You know what's missing? We just need like the tennis ball. Where's the tennis
Yeah.
ball? You know, it's like, I want to see the tennis ball. But yes, the sporty look, he really was sort of the mastermind on the sporty look. Oh, he also did like knitted swimwear. I mean, all the knitted and crocheted things was a big thing in the 20s and all that. He was the king of the knitted swimwear, which does not sound like a good idea to me. I mean, doesn't that get heavy when it's wet?
Yeah.
And sag when it's wet? And then what happens to I asked too many questions, I know. But the sporty look also became, wearing sportswear in public is also sort of part of his design. So it just became cool to wear it's like wearing your pajamas to school, you know, wearing your sportswear to out at lunch, or, you know, while shopping, or anything else besides. We are coming from cultures that changed your clothes more often during the day, if you could afford to. The last one, Madeleine Vionnet, is almost never talked about, and I know this is going to shock you, but she's another designer from Paris. It's like, other than Schiaparelli, you notice they're all French. And Schiaparelli's like Italian, but I think she was in France designing. An Italian girl in France designing, but Vionnet, another French designer, because I ran a can-can troupe for 20 years. I may be a Polish girl, but I have a real fondness for everything French, so. She's a lot less famous than all the others, but she is the queen of the 30s. She designed the bias cut. So all of the saggy, drapey things that the look of the 30s, if you guys saw my dress when you came in the door, bias cut. What does that mean? All right. This is cut on the bias. So this is the warp. This is the woof. It comes off the loom. And mostly sensible people would cut things out of the fabric, right? If you cut everything on the diagonal, this direction makes it stretch. So actually, I'll turn our chairs here and I'll show you on my dress because it's a great illustration. So, across the front of the dress, that stretches. Can you see how much it stretches? If you were doing it on the warp or the woof, it doesn't stretch. But on the diagonal, that's a ton of stretch. So that's how you get that soggy look of everything from the 30s. Yeah, this one's also on the stretch. Cut on the bias. So that, it's the thing. Now this is hurting my brain. I do a lot. Yes, I made this, and so this hurts my brain. You have to use extra fabric to cut everything on the diagonal. Now maybe it doesn't matter in a manufacturing house, you're just making 170 of them and all that. But I mean, if you're doing it at home, and as we know, as we established with Hollywood patterns, people are sewing at home. It was a skill everybody knew how to do. It wastes fabric. How do you waste fabric during the Depression?
Yeah.
It's making my brain explode. I need to know why, how, what? There it is. So, meanwhile, the look of the 30s, the cut on the bias, I had to throw in a few of these because they are, I mean, you could see the construction lines, all these extra things. So they would have been like strips on the diagonal on your fabric, reassembled to get this soggy thing so that you can have these dresses that require you having no body fat on the bottom half of your body. I, as a Polish girl, still do not approve. I like the 30s better than the 20s, but it's still, you had to be so skinny to pull that off, man. And the girdle thing, oh yeah, still a thing. I want to get my hands on a real 1930s girdle. I think they were made out of rubber. And they were like, really would have been uncomfortable, and it's like, makes my brain hurt. But I'm very curious because I just need to know more about it. So, all right, now we've talked about the influence of movies, and we've talked about the influence of the designers. So, the economics of the time. So number one, Germany surrenders. Well, we get to go back, that's a huge change on, everything in the society. No more rationing, no more, everything that affects the society. Everybody just gets to take a deep breath and vote and go back. Meanwhile, women get the right to vote in 1920. That whole modern American woman, she's on her way. First of all, one needs a certain amount of disposable income when you're going to market to people. So, that said, look how simple those 20s dresses are. We were talking before about the simplicity and all that. So, you could create them very cheaply. You get a couple of yards of fabric and an hour, and you have a new dress. Now, because this is the fashion, it means that a rich woman and a poor woman are now dressing exactly the same way. You can't tell them apart on the street when you're walking down anything from Hollywood Boulevard to name a street in the middle of St. Louis, or, everybody's dressing the same with the same ideas. I mean, you can have different fabrics, but the fabrics are also cheaper. Rayon is to the 20s what muslin was to the Regency, that 1800 white dress I showed you, the muslin, the simple dress. Jersey is out, so it's a knit, a light knit, the one that was originally made for men's underwear. Coco Chanel actually started using jersey because she was like young and poor and just getting started and hadn't made her first rich lover conquest yet. Artificial silk, rayon. So the new fabric, and things go through a phase where first the new thing is all cool and hot and expensive, and then somebody figures out how to mass produce it a lot cheaper, and then everybody can have it. There's the artificial silk and the rayon. So you get your hands on cheap artificial silk, 1 hour dress, and you can look just like somebody name a rich woman in 1920s. Coco Chanel, we'll just go with her, because she wasn't poor, she had the colorful life. Oh yes, as I mentioned, Simplicity Pattern Company starts out 1927. Simple dress, easy to make. Butterick and McCall's had been around for a long time at this point. But Simplicity really, I mean, that's not just their name, it's their marketing strategy. We have simple patterns. Because, I mean, especially Butterick, my entire life, I learned how to sew when I was pretty young. So the first time I used a pattern, I would have been in 3rd grade. How old is a 3rd grader?
8 or 9.
8 years old? Okay. And I was actually years, I would have been like 7 or 8 because they pushed me ahead. I was born Christmas, which made it weird, and so I could read, so they put me ahead. So when you're 7 years old, I started sewing with patterns and all that. Butterick, my entire life, minus 7 years, Butterick is the hard one. McCall's Simplicity really does the best. It has been doing for a long time the patterns that make the most sense with the least amount of sewing skills. And as I've had more sewing skills, I still go to Simplicity first. So, but another thing to keep in mind with the simpler fashions. We talked about, I talked on it a little bit earlier, but think about sewing as a common household skill. Home economics was still taught. How many of you think that, like I do, that we need to stop calling it adulting and start putting home economics back in schools so kids can do things again?
Yeah.
The kids even want it. The kids are kind of like, I want to know how to adult. And it's like, All right, so to be fair, with all the home sewing and everything, ready-made fashions, when the dress is, I'm going to show my bias, when the dress is just a bag that doesn't fit you well anywhere anyway, you just buy it off the rack and save yourself the time. If you have the money, save yourself the time. And then 1929 happens. So that whole do-it-yourself thing becomes more important again. So now we're stuck in the Great Depression. It's kind of obvious to what has to happen with clothing during the Great Depression. A third of the population of the United States is out of work by 1933. 1/3. So you can't afford clothing off the rack. Everybody's selling ready-made garments, is doing what they can, cheaper fabrics, etc. Meanwhile, one of my notes here is about that bias cut dress. Like, why you don't have money? Let's make the dresses that take more fabric. I don't get it. The feed sack dress. What do you do when you don't have any money, but your kid just grew another foot, because that's what they do? What do you do when your own dresses wear out? The flour sacks. So the one on the left there, that's, early, it's just simple cotton, just, cut sleeves and a neckline, hem the neckline a little bit, and they obviously took a little off the bottom to give her even a sash, so she's even fashionable there. On the left, this was an ad for the Red Cross, and it's talking about government-owned wheat that the farm board was collecting the wheat to distribute to make sure that people aren't starving. The Red Cross was a big part of the distribution network. So the byproducts of the farm wheat given here: first, flour; second, bread; and third, the little girl's wearing a dress made out of a flour sack. So see, one donation of a sack of flour has 3 uses. So, but it's, on the one hand, it's what you had to work with. The Purina girls, when we say feed sack dress, we are not kidding about feed sacks. But what I want to know is, did they work at the Purina factory? Was it a uniform? Or, I don't have any story behind it. Now, when we think of that, now this is what when I thought feed sack dress and flour sack dresses, this was like the first images, and I got lots of others, but we've seen enough, right? You get the idea. This is what I think of as a feed sack dress, but they weren't all printed like that. And it's kind of neat. The flower manufacturers kind of bought into this. They knew, they found out that this is what's happening with their bags. And it's like the one on the left, that's just blue. I mean, it's a blue dress. It's actually, look at the pleats here. This is not cut on the bias. She's got two little pleats here. So even though it's a slightly A-line skirt, it's not really, she just didn't take the feet sack like you would in the 20s. She just angled a little bit on the side to give it some shape. And the lady on the right-hand side, I mean, those are also, were made out of flour sacks. All of these are actually made out of flour sacks. The flour companies caught wind of this and leaned into it as as a marketing thing, and went to the expense. So part of it you could say is kindness, and part of it is opportunity. They really leaned into printing the flour sacks in different patterns.
Wow.
Does anybody remember? Has everybody actually seen or
Yes, we've worn them.
you wore flour sack dresses?
Yes, not flour sacks, feed sacks.
Feed
Feed
sacks.
sacks.
Dairy,
Yeah.
dairy feed and stuff.
Uh-huh.
At one time we had a dairy, yes, and they'd bring that in on a truck and all those, and we'd go out there and we'd hope there was 4 alike or 2 alike or something, because you didn't know what you was getting.
Uh-huh. And so you snagged the ones that were the same so you could make.
Well, I guess I was too little to do, but anyway, not worse than feed sack dresses doing, yeah.
So, and I have found, I don't know if I put it in here, I did find like one burlap dress, and she had embroidered, like a little collar with embroidery,
Yeah.
little embroidered bits on it. It's absolutely darling. But I hadn't thought much about it, that if it's a flour sack, flour is very fine. You have to have a good percale to keep, like your bed sheets, you know, the linen you have.
Yeah.
It's gotta be pretty high, because there's flour in there. It's gonna come oozing out of every pore if it's not a tight weave. So while the feed sacks, like the Purina ones, that could be a little looser, but for depending on what you're doing, but flour is gonna have to be fine. So, well, if you're gonna have a nice percale, you might as well just print on it and make a dress out of it. So it's kind of brilliant to use. I am now gonna show you way too many prints of the flour sacks, because it was just fun and I found all of these.
Oh my god.
The surfer girl with the trees on the left is like astonished me. The wash day thing, I swear I've seen embroideries like that on the towels. You know, let's see. Okay, the ballerina on the left is sweet. So we've got, yes, we'll just keep going. The fact that the self-rising flower was still in it is good. But yeah, these prints are just, the tortoise and the hare on the left. Can't you just see a little kid in that? It's so adorable. The lipstick and lip prints, it's too good. All right, they're obviously marketing to women with children, because, you know, what little boy doesn't want to have the guns and targets, and what little girl shouldn't be in the little bunnies? Oh yeah, and the cowboys on the right here. The one on the left astonished me. If you would have shown me that bit of fabric, I would have said, well, of course it's got to be like the 60s, early 70s. That's the 1930s. That's a flour sack. Who knew? So lots of prints. Notice how all the bright colors too. They were mostly not muted. Okay, so that's the, stand back up again. So so there's my feed sack list. But as you say, I just delved in. Once I found this one opportunity to get a ton of them, I just had to share it. So it really, one could thank the flour companies for keeping all of us in cheerful fashions through the Great Depression.
Well, they were used for household items. I mean, you make your tea towels out of those, and sheets. Even if you got 4 alike, you can make a sheet. But
yeah, I did not
yeah,
include
all
one in
kinds of
here.
household items were made.
Thank you. Yes, I should have put them in here. I found pictures of a woman who, like, she was in her house. The curtains were made out of flour sacks. The bedspread was made out of flour sacks. The pillow shams, like everything in the house was, if it was made out of fabric, it was made out of flour sacks. So does that mean if I'm at home, if I, like today, I go to the grocery store, I buy 5 pounds of flour to think. Did
Well, I don't
everybody
even
buy
remember
by the
flour
sacks?
being in any like that. There was just feed. the feed store, but not.
That was a
Uh-huh.
long time.
The
So it
flour
was
was
all-
before our time, wasn't it? Yeah.
So flour was always sold and feed was just sold just like feed in large quantities.
No, I don't remember, no.
Okay.
We don't remember cloth bags for flour.
For flour, no.
Okay. So it just depends on, so if you were in Chicago or New York, you really didn't have access to those same materials?
Well, we were born in the 40s, but we don't remember flour in the,
But in, I can
Right.
see in the big cities,
maybe in the big cities they might have.
Yeah.
the bakery or something.
But we just wore those, they were feed sacks, everybody called them feed sacks.
sacks.
Dairy feed, chicken feed, and stuff like that came
Right.
in the flour bags.
So they were doing as fine of, were they still doing the fine prints like these?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Some of them look familiar.
He said
And
this
didn't
is,
you buy, seed, like corn seed and stuff like that in bags like that
Being-
to plant?
No, I don't remember that.
Do you remember anything like that? Do you remember that?
I mean, we saw maybe chicken
I
feed
know
came
feed
in.
sacks are treasured now, they're,
Chicken feed might have
Very
been in a
expensive.
white bag, it was printed.
I never liked
What?
Thorpe with
And they made pillowcases.
Yes, yes, they make pillowcases and things like that. Yeah.
all right, so let's conclude that the birth of the modern American woman. See, 1918, that's like just after as the war's ending, we have the new American woman. So, I mean, we've been talking already about a lot of societal changes going on. You know, we were not in the war all that long, but it really ended up clinching the deal for women's suffrage because of the fact that women put aside their fight for the right to vote to just put all their efforts into the war effort. When the war was over, they said, hey, you guys owe us. And the political establishment agreed that, well, yeah, you know, we could not have won the war without those women in the munitions factory doing the dirty work at home, and said, okay, fair. It's like, we can't exactly ask you, that's nice, honey, now go home back to your kitchen. So we got the right to vote. Notice that's the opposite message we got after World War II, and in the 50s, we wanted you to, that's nice, honey, now go back to the kitchen and drink Cleaver Gets Pearls. You know? So, but women were now more fully citizens in a profound way. My favorite and odd thing that changes fashion and the new modern American woman was Prohibition. So, are we all drinkers here? Nope. It was one of those things that it's like, it'd be like, how do you, something that's been around for, you know, thousands and thousands of years, it's like, okay, it's a bad idea, don't do it. It's like, that's gonna be pretty hard. Okay, we had the great experiment. It didn't work out the way they expected. Instead, gangsters became rich folk heroes supplying the need for liquor. Odd thing. Okay, so a tavern before Prohibition, women were not allowed in taverns and saloons and so forth. Sometimes they would have the ladies' entrance, and there would be a ladies' room for drinking. Not often, but there was sometimes segregated places where a woman could have an alcoholic beverage. Separate but equal, we've heard those terms before, and from the look of that sign, yeah, I'm sure they were really separate and really equal. That does not look the least bit sketchy to me. Yeah. So, well, Prohibition happens now, nobody's supposed to be drinking, so now the men have to do it on the same terms as the women, so they all just did it together now. I love this one. No intoxicating liquor allowed on the premises with everybody holding up their booze bottles. Yeah. And I mean, and look at the gender balance here. We've got 4 guys and 3 women. And now everybody is drinking together. If anybody has not seen Ken Burns' documentary on Prohibition, I highly recommend it. It's fabulous. It's very, very insightful on the whole phenomenon, from why it happened in the first place. I mean, there is some sense to it. Once upon a time, a man got off work, got his paycheck, went and drank away his paycheck, and then got home. And the women were like, hey, I've been home doing what you wanted me to do, and I got the laundry done, but there's no money for soap now. Because so now that you're participating together, the stakes are now equal. Like, hurts my brain to think about those things, but yeah, so we are now being treated, women are now equal in the voting booth, you are now equal in society. You can go out and get a drink together. Scale of the drinking problem of America. It's really hard because it's a legal business, but in the New York City limits, there were somewhere between 30,000 and 100,000 speakeasies. So if you think what's the population of Ripley? 3,000, something like that? So that's 10 speakeasies for every person on the last census, including the infants. You have 10 of your own speakeasies. A lot of choices. I don't think I live in Champaign, Illinois. Do I know of 10 bars in Champaign? I know there must be, but just for me, it was pretty. Now women were also entrepreneurs with this. You could, it's illegal. So women who had bathtub gin, you had your own kitchen still, and supplied your friendly neighborhood speakeasy. It was also an income stream along with everything else. So, last point about the modern American woman, we were, just like with the clothing, we were more active. It was ladylike to play croquet or golf. You don't run. Field hockey, on the other hand, or basketball. This is a high school basketball team, or track and field. They're showing their knees too, so obviously it's not just tennis that has the short skirts. But all of these things, women's sports, it was sort of this continual thing. We think about like Title IX in the 70s, where it's like we have to invest in our women athletes too. It's been on an over a century-long continuum from women should only sit and embroider in the living room until they get married, and then they can make their husband's shirts and it was a long expansion of how active we were, and obviously the track and field girls were continuing a thing that would just keep on going until we got to Title IX in the 70s and that. So notice her garter flask. I just had to put her at the edge as our final shot, because I don't know what's best. The fur on her dress, the shoes are to die for. The flask itself is hilarious, and how big is that? Because that's her calf. It's got to be 2 shots, maybe 3. And then the look on her face. So, all right. Well, that is everything I say. And I know I said ask questions as you go, but
It's more an addition, but
Yeah.
With the women's sports, it wasn't just limited to the big cities. Ravenswood and Ripley both had their women's basketball teams.
Yeah, they
in the
did.
20s.
Yes.
We have a bunch of photos and a bunch of newspaper references, and I think it wasn't just limited to basketball. Like, they were involved in all kinds of sports, and it
I
was just
wonder why
a place.
that fizzled out. Because in the 50s, there was nothing for women.
Well, I think it's the reaction after the
You're
war,
fine.
like, okay, well, thanks for coming back to your
Yeah.
kitchen, and
Yeah.
so.
Because my mother-in-law is a Spencer, and she was in that, and I thought, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that they had basketball
Yeah.
there at that time.
my
And
grandmother
there was
was.
nothing. In the 50s, there was nothing.
Yeah, my grandmother was a baseball player before the war and all that. But yeah, this thing about after World War II, it's like, thank you for your help, honey, now go home. It collapsed so many things that women were doing in the 20s and 30s.
Wow.
Do you ladies know that back when, even when I was in high school, girls could not play the whole basketball court. We were not strong enough. So they divided at the middle line. There were there were 3 forwards on one end and 3 guards on the other end, and you couldn't cross that middle line. But we were not strong enough to play the whole court. I remember
wild.
that
Does
so well.
anybody want to tell that to the girls who are out there?
Yeah.
I remember it because I wasn't aggressive enough to play defense and I was too short to play forward.
Oh.
I didn't do well with basketball. But that's how things have changed. And those outfits that they were wearing, can you imagine playing a game?
With, yeah.
Well, I also think it's
The long skirts.
interesting, like, you see sports come up as well, though, like tennis, like the tennis player, and kind of this, you know, we see, like, oh, all these luxury items and dresses, and, like, really, especially in tennis is expensive, and it's always been kind of, like, seen as, like, a
Exclusive.
wealthy,
Yeah.
exclusive
Yes.
sport. So I think it's kind of interesting in the midst of, like, all that going on socially, that you see these, you know, the fact that she can wear her tennis uniform casually to lunch, you
Right,
know, or
yeah.
something like that, like casual displays of wealth.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah.
Already, that is a point I had not thought about, is that yes, there's something about tennis in particular that has always been elitist. Now, I say this as a kid who, I mean, I'm a child of the suburbs, but it's like, yeah, I had a tennis racket, I had a tennis ball, and I had a garage door.
Yes.
Why my mother let me play on the garage door and not, you know, that can't have been good for the garage door. On the other hand, they probably made the doors better in those days. Okay, I'm putting on my sports thing.
And also, we can even go further. I was actually talking to someone about this. I'm a big tennis fan, so I watch it. And, you know, we just had the U.S. Open and Wimbledon and everything, and Wimbledon's coming up. But the color white in tennis throughout history, and how that shows, well, it doesn't matter if it gets dirty because we can just throw it out and get another one. And to play at Wimbledon, you have to wear white.
Yeah.
You have to have that display of you have to be able to pay to be able to play there, and then also afford special clothing, white clothing to wear there, which I think is interesting. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Very good observation.
Well, and I mean, in the same way, like, we wear a lot of, like, athletic and sports clothes now, but when you think about it, like, a tennis skirt is still a status symbol. I mean, like, you think of, like, Mean Girls or Heathers, and they have their croquet outfits,
Yeah.
and their tennis skirts, and it places them above everybody else.
Yes.
Or even, like, a cheer uniform, you know, versus
I-
good old gym shorts and t-shirts.
I think that there is an element of like country club sports.
Yes.
So like
Ooh.
tennis, golf,
Tennis and golf.
and croquet, like those sorts
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
And the
Equestrianism.
clothes that are associated with it. Like I said, I think it's interesting that wearing your, you know, tennis apparel, your athleisure, became so popular during a time of
That's interesting too, is
So.
you're thinking, okay, so once upon a time, women couldn't play, just don't play at all. And now it's like the rich women get to,
and casually. That's the thing too. It's
And
not
casually,
even
true.
to say like
so
like
is
oh these are
this-
professional athletes. It's to say that you're of a class that you can afford to do these things casually.
I'm going down to the club to have
Yes.
lunch and play tennis at 1
Yes,
o'clock.
kind of like
Yeah.
those.
Doesn't that sound dreadful?
That's
The way I'm like, that
every,
sounds wonderful.
that's every generation though, ain't it?
I think that that's so true.
Every
Public
year.
golf
It's-
courses
Yes.
or public
The
tennis
wealthy
courts.
get to
Yeah,
break it
you're
in
right,
first,
they're
and
always,
then
you
it
have to join the
trickles
club.
Right.
down to the rest
So
of the people.
in,
Yeah.
I lived in Dayton, Ohio for almost 20 years, and there was, in downtown Dayton is the Dayton Women's Club. It's like a country club without the country around it. So, and like I knew about the venue. I mean, I helped them for a couple weddings, you know, I teach dancing, so you end up in places where, you know, there's a dancing couple and they have me DJ for the whole night and stuff like that. Well, the lady who runs the Dayton Women's Club now was at the conference that Faith and Addie and I were just at, and she's like, "Oh, here's my card, and here's the book, and all that kind of stuff." And you know, they want to do event planning, which is great. That's what I do is you know, lectures and event planning. But there was this element of, ew, I'm just replaced by the snooty lady from the country club that doesn't even have a country around it, and she wants to do a thing, and as you know, dumpy Polish kid, I feel so out of my element with this, the snooty lady wants me to come do things. It's like, what do they call it? Not pretender, there's a syndrome. It's like
Imposter.
Yes.
imposter syndrome.
Yes.
It's like, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna be an imposter because, oh, this is not my scene, but goody. So, yeah. Anyway, now that we're done laughing at people that okay, there we go. We still have to end with our, I ended the whole full screen thing, but, all right, well, it's also, we're after our time anyway, but we still have treats on the table.
Yes, please take them if you want. If you have people at home, because
I'd like to treat, I'll take some. I'll
yes,
take some.
please take some for your ride back.
But yes, so everybody, thank you so much for coming and talking with me about pretty clothes and ugly clothes and clothes in general. And if anybody has any other things, please talk to
I
me.
did
'Cause-
have a question.
Yeah.
What did this stretch, you're saying that rayon stretch
Mhm.
and
Or
the
stretch fabrics.
jersey?
Yeah, the
Were
jersey.
those the first fabrics that stretch? I always wondered in the movies, especially as musicals when they have all those clothes, which, you know, most of the fabric has no give to it. I just don't know how they danced and done all that.
Yeah, so number one, the jersey was was one that had some stretch, and then they figured out how to cut it on the bias so it had some stretch.
Well, that's what.
Yeah, and then so adding stretch to fabrics, it's like, yeah, what was Sonia Henney wearing when she was ice skating? Because nothing stretched in those things.
Well, but then
That's
at
what
the
I
same
think,
time, like
yeah.
they could come up with pretty ingenious ways to make a thin profile expand, like with the tennis skirts. I mean, the pleats are so that
True.
you can have, you know, a thin profile up here, but it can expand to
Like, you
quite
know what
wide.
it is? Now, you know what? Remember that? Let's go back to that thing about the crocheted and knitted bathing suits.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first time we had the form-fitting things, and all I can think of is, that would have been really awful, get wet and heavy and sag and all that,
Yes,
but it was knitted so it would stretch.
Yeah.
So that's the first time we had form-fitting. It was-
We have 3 wool swimsuits in the museum's collection, and it is there is give. There is. It feels almost more than you would think. Yeah.
We have to take a look. Was it cut on the bias?
No, they were knit.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Ha.
Yeah. They're nice, heavy wool knitted bathing suits.
Yeah.
Knitted. Yeah, knitted, so therefore it's gonna stretch. So.
I remember.
That's what the early stretch would have been, because you know when you put on socks, knitted socks, they'll stretch. So
I remember my mother would have hosiery and she'd roll them up and she'd have a band there on the top of lower
That was
knee.
before garter belts, or you had the corsets or whatever that was.
Yeah,
girdles that
and
came
she'd
down
roll
and
'em
hooked
up.
in.
Yeah, from corset that came all the way back.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I actually have on my my little garters.
Yeah.
These are period stockings that have the
Oh,
seam up
yeah.
front.
Yes, yes.
You don't have your flask? You don't have your flask?
No, I don't have a flask. I own a flask, but it would if I had it in there, it would just